Have you ever dismissed a subtle sign from your body or a loved one, thinking it's just stress, age, or a passing mood? Those faint signals, the odd sensation, the change in appetite, the unexplained discomfort could be your body's desperate cry for help, whispering warnings of something far more serious. In this video, William Bill Smith, an 87-year-old former Mayo Clinic professor with over 50 years of experience in pancreatic cancer detection, shares the heart-wrenching story of his greatest regret, missing the critical signals from his wife, Sarah, that could have saved her life. Through his deeply personal journey, you'll discover the 5 often ignored warning signs of pancreatic issues. Signals that could change the fate of you or someone you love. Watch until the end to learn these vital clues and how a single moment of attention could prevent an irreversible mistake, empowering you to act before it's too late. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now, let's get started. I am Dr. William Bill Smith, an 87-year-old retired professor of internal medicine, whose life's work spanned over 5 decades at the esteemed Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. My career was dedicated to the study and treatment of digestive system disorders, with a particular focus on the early detection and management of pancreatic cancer, a relentless disease that claims countless lives due to its insidious onset. Throughout my tenure, I stood before audiences at national and international medical conferences, delivering impassioned lectures on the critical importance of early detection. With unwavering conviction, I counseled my patients to attune themselves to the subtle whispers of their bodies. Believing this to be the cornerstone of modern medicine's ability to preserve life, I held myself to the same standard, priding myself on my vigilance as a physician. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, I failed to heed the faint, desperate signals emanating from the person who mattered most to me, my beloved wife, Sarah. Sarah was my constant companion, my confidant, and my anchor through life's storms. She was the heart of our home. Yet, I, blinded by the hubris of my expertise and consumed by the relentless demands of my career, missed the quiet cries for help she sent my way. Have you ever brushed off a seemingly trivial remark from a loved one, chalking it up to aging, stress, or a fleeting mood? I did, and that oversight has become the source of my deepest regret, a guilt so profound it haunts me still. Today, I share the story of my gravest mistake, hoping it reaches even one person and prevents them from repeating my error. This is my fervent wish, born from unbearable loss. Sarah was a vibrant woman who cherished her health with a devotion that rivaled even my own. Each morning, she began her day with a brisk walk through Central Park, her steps light as she inhaled the crisp, rejuvenating air. On our modest apartment balcony, she nurtured a small herb garden, coaxing fresh basil, rosemary, and thyme to life, which he lovingly incorporated into our meal. When I returned home late from the research lab, exhausted and preoccupied, Sarah would greet me with a steaming bowl of her homemade chicken noodle soup, her gentle chiding ringing in my ears. A doctor who doesn't take care of himself, who's going to believe a word you say? Her words, though sharp, were laced with love, a comforting reminder of her unwavering care. To me, Sarah was the epitome of vitality, and I was convinced she would outlive me, her strength and resilience a given. But in the autumn of a year, when the leaves blazed in unusually vivid gold, subtle changes began to surface. Sarah, who had always savored her culinary creations, began to lose her appetite. The rich, comforting aroma of her signature pot roast, once a source of pride and joy, now turned her stomach, leaving her nauseated. She noticed her sweat carried an unfamiliar, acrid odor, and she broke into unexpected sweats that left her unsettled. Ever the specialist, I dismissed these signs as mere symptoms of menopause that catch all explanation, too often used to wave away women's concerns. "Honey, you're just being overly sensitive," I'd say with a reassuring smile, attributing her discomfort to the natural progression of age. In doing so, I not only failed to ease her growing anxiety, but also wounded her with my careless dismissal, a failure that stings me to this day. The most critical signal came one quiet evening, as we prepared for bed. Sarah, her voice barely above a whisper, turned away from me and said, "Bill, something feels strange right below my breastbone. It's like a faint vibration, as if my cell phone is buzzing inside me. It's not enough to keep me awake, but it's so odd." As a pancreatic specialist, I should have recognized this as a potential red flag, a classic symptom of pancreatic distress emanating from the very organ I had spent my career studying. Yet, in my arrogance and distraction, I attributed it to stress-induced indigestion, offering only a prefrontal pad on her back and a vague reassurance. How could I, of all people, have been so blind? Days later, the truth crashed down like a tidal wave. Sarah collapsed in our living room, her body racked with abdominal pain, as she sat knitting on the couch. The scene is seared into my memory, her pale face, her trembling hands, the unfinished scarf slipping to the floor. I rushed her to the hospital, gripping her cold hand as fear clawed at my chest. In the emergency room, I met the gaze of a former student, now a seasoned physician, whose grave expression confirmed my worst fears. Before he spoke, the words, "Stage 4 pancreatic cancer." In that moment, the world fell silent. Time itself seemed to freeze, drained of color and meaning. I had spent my life wielding knowledge to save others. Yet, when faced with my wife's suffering, I was nothing more than a helpless, foolish husband, stripped of all my expertise. Sarah's passing left a void that no amount of time could fill. 4 years I drowned in self-reproach, my once proud office, a sanctuary of cutting-edge medical texts and decades of research. Now, a mocking reminder of my failure. The complex terminology and cold data I had revered felt like worthless scraps compared to the weight of Sarah's simple observation. The sweat smells different. I understood its significance too late after the chance to act had slipped away forever. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still with me. Thank you for your valuable time. In the wake of this loss, I resolved to redirect my knowledge and experience toward a new purpose. I began to focus not on the sterile results of scans and blood tests, but on the lived experiences of patients, the subtle, often overlooked sensations they described in passing. Even after retiring, I continued to consult with patients, listening intently to every offhand comment, as if it were a clue in a life or death mystery. Through this work, I discovered a pattern. Many individuals with pancreatic issues reported early warning signs strikingly similar to Sarah's. The 5 signals I share below, drawn from her story and the experiences of countless others, are cries for help too often dismissed. I urge you to listen closely to the end, for these are not mere symptoms, but pleas from the body that demand attention. Have you ever ignored a subtle signal from your own body or that of someone you love? The pancreas, a small but vital organ, often speaks and whispers before it screams. Here is the first of the 5 early warning signs: ice-cold hands and feet, paired with a flushed face. This is frequently mistaken for a circulatory issue, or in women a symptom of menopause, but it can signal a deeper, more serious imbalance. The pancreas plays a critical role in regulating the body's autonomic nervous system, which governs automatic functions, like temperature control. When inflammation or a tumor develops in the pancreas, the body enters a state of emergency, disrupting the delicate balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This can cause vasoconstriction in the extremities, leaving hands and feet icy cold, while the core, particularly the face and upper body, experiences an influx of heat, resulting in unexplained hot flashes or flushing. Sarah exhibited these symptoms vividly. Even on balmy summer nights, she would slip on socks to warm her chilled feet, while her face glowed with an unnatural flush. I dismissed it as a quirk of aging, a trivial complaint. Yet, these contradictory symptoms, cold extremities and a warm core, stem from the same underlying issue. If this pattern persists, particularly between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., when the body is in its restorative phase, it warrants closer attention. A standard thermometer may not detect this subtle imbalance. So, it's crucial to trust your sensations or those reported by loved ones. These are not mere inconveniences, but potential harbingers of a serious condition begging for recognition before it's too late. 5 subtle warning signs of pancreatic issues. A doctor's reflections and lessons learned. As a physician, I've spent decades studying the human body, learning its intricate language, and teaching others to listen to its signals. Yet, despite all my knowledge, I missed the quiet cries of my own wife's body when her pancreas was struggling. The pancreas, often called the silent organ, is nestled deep within the abdomen, working tirelessly to regulate digestion and blood sugar. When it falters, it doesn't scream for attention like a heart attack or a broken bone. Instead, it whispers through subtle, seemingly unrelated symptoms that are easy to dismiss as aging, stress, or fatigue. Through my loss and years of clinical experience, I've come to recognize 5 critical warning signs that could indicate early pancreatic trouble. These are not textbook symptoms, but real lived experiences, shared by patients, and heartbreakingly, by my own family. If you or someone you love notices these signs, don't wait, act swift. Here are the 5 warning signs, explained in detail, with a plea to listen to your body before it's too late. 1. Contrasting temperatures of hands, feet, and face. The first warning sign of potential pancreatic issues is an unusual and often perplexing phenomenon, where the hands, feet, and face exhibit contrasting temperatures, some feeling unusually warm or hot, while others feel strikingly cold. This peculiar sensation may manifest as cold, clammy hands, paired with a flushed, warm face, or icy feet, despite a normal or elevated body temperature. Patients often describe this as an internal thermostat gone awry, creating a disjointed sense of temperature regulation that feels distinctly abnormal. This symptom is subtle, easy to dismiss as a quirk of circulation or stress, but it can be a critical early indicator of pancreatic dysfunction, reflecting the organ's role in metabolic and circulatory regulation. The pancreas, a small but vital organ, located deep in the abdomen, is intricately involved in regulating blood sugar through insulin and glucagon production, which influences how energy is distributed throughout the body. When pancreatic function is compromised, whether due to inflammation, pancreatitis, a developing cyst, or a more serious condition like a tumor, it can disrupt the body's ability to maintain stable blood flow and temperature regulation. This disruption can affect the autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary functions like blood vessel dilation and constriction. As a result, blood flow to the extremities, hands and feet, may be reduced, causing them to feel cold, while the face may flush due to compensatory mechanisms or systemic inflammation. The contrast is often most noticeable during periods of rest, after meals, or in response to temperature changes, such as stepping into a warm room or eating a heavy meal. I recall a patient, Linda, a 52-year-old teacher, who described this sensation during a routine checkup. "It's the strangest thing," she said. "My hands are like ice, even in summer, but my face feels like it's burning up, like I'm blushing all the time. My students keep asking if I'm okay." She laughed it off, attributing it to menopause or stress, but the symptom persisted, and it was accompanied by mild fatigue and occasional nausea. In hindsight, this was an early clue to her pancreatic condition, which we caught through further testing, prompted by her detailed description. This experience taught me that patients often notice these subtle changes, but may not connect them to something as serious as pancreatic dysfunction until prompted to reflect on their patterns. To explore this symptom, try monitoring your body's temperature sensations over a few days. In a calm environment, place one hand on your face and the other on your feet or hands, noting any stark differences in warmth or coolness. For example, are your hands cold and clammy, while your cheeks feel hot and flushed? Does this contrast persist across different settings, such as after eating, during exercise, or at rest? Keep a detailed log of when these sensations occur, their intensity, and any accompanying symptoms, such as fatigue, sweating, or digestive discomfort. For instance, you might note after lunch, "My hands were freezing, but my face felt hot for 30 minutes, and I felt slightly nauseous." Share this log with your healthcare provider, as it could prompt diagnostic tests like blood work to check pancreatic enzyme levels, or imaging to assess the pancreas's condition. This symptom, though subtle, may be your body's early cry for help, signaling a need for medical evaluation to catch potential issues before they escalate. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 2. A subtle vibration below the breastbone. The second warning sign of potential pancreatic issues is a peculiar sensation, often described by patients as a faint vibration, buzzing, or pulsating feeling, located just below the breastbone, deep within the abdominal cavity. This sensation is frequently likened to the soft, muffled hum of a cell phone set to vibrate mode, as if something inside the body is gently thrumming. It's a symptom so subtle and unique that it's often dismissed or overlooked, particularly in its early stages, as it rarely causes pain or immediate alarm. However, its distinctiveness makes it a critical clue. Over the course of my medical career, I've encountered this description from numerous patients with early-stage pancreatic condition, and it often originates from the pancreas, exerting gentle pressure on the abdominal aorta, the body's largest blood vessel, which transports blood from the heart to the lower extremities, and/or the pancreas, nestled deep in the abdomen, near the spine, is surrounded by a complex network of vital structures, including organs like the stomach and duodenum, as well as an intricate web of nerves and blood vessels. When the pancreas becomes inflamed, develops a cyst, or undergoes subtle changes in size, whether due to acute or chronic pancreatitis, a benign growth, or a more serious condition, like a tumor, it can encroach upon the abdominal aorta. The aorta, pulsing rhythmically with each heartbeat, carries blood under high pressure, and any external pressure from the pancreas can translate this pulsation into a perceptible vibration. This sensation may feel like a faint, steady buzz or tremor, distinguishable from random muscle twitches or digestive gurgles. Patients often report noticing it during moments of stillness, such as when lying in bed at night, waking up on an empty stomach, or sitting quietly after a light meal. One patient, Tom, a long-haul truck driver with decades of experience, described it vividly. "Doc, I've driven trucks for 30 years, and I know the feeling when the engine's just a bit off, vibrating in a way it shouldn't. That's what's happening in my gut, like something's out of tune." To investigate this symptom at home, try this simple test. In a quiet room, ideally in the morning before eating, lie flat on your back with your knees slightly bent to relax your abdominal muscles. Place your hand gently just below your breastbone, where the rib cage meets the upper abdomen. Take slow, deep breaths to calm your body, and focus intently on any rhythmic sensation in that area. Does it feel like a steady pulsation, distinct from your heartbeat, or the normal gurgling of digestion? Is it consistent, lasting for several minutes, or does it come and go over days or weeks? If you detect this vibration, keep a detailed log of its characteristics. When does it occur? Morning, night, or after meals? How intense is it? Does it coincide with other symptoms, such as nausea, fatigue, or abdominal discomfort? This information can be invaluable for your healthcare provider, as this subtle vibration may be the pancreas's way of signaling distress. Catching it early and discussing it with a doctor could lead to timely diagnostic tests, such as an ultrasound or CT scan, potentially uncovering a pancreatic issue before it progresses. 3. A sudden aversion to lifelong favorite food. The third warning sign is a sudden, inexplicable aversion to foods you've always loved. Taste and smell preferences naturally evolve with age, but a dramatic shift, especially a repulsion to specific flavors or aromas, is a red flag. The pancreas produces critical digestive enzymes, such as lipase and protease, which break down fats and proteins in the food we eat. When pancreatic function declines, even by as little as 10%, the body struggles to process these nutrients. In response, it may trigger an instinctive avoidance of foods it can no longer handle. Much like an emergency brake on a runaway train, this aversion often manifests as a heightened sensitivity to the smells of fatty
or protein-rich foods, such as grilled meats, fried dishes, or even fragrant oils. My wife Sarah loved pot roast her entire life. The rich, savory aroma would fill our home, and she'd eagerly anticipate a hearty meal with rice. But one evening, as I prepared her favorite dish, she wrinkled her nose and said, "Honey, I'm sorry, but that smell, it's overwhelming. Can you open a window? It's like it's stuck in my throat." I brushed it off, thinking she was just being picky, or perhaps had an off day. In hindsight, her body was sending a desperate signal. It could no longer process the fats and proteins in her beloved pot roast. If you notice that foods you once craved, whether it's grilled fish, buttery pastries, or sesame oil, suddenly seem unappealing or even nauseating, don't dismiss it as a passing phase. Keep a detailed record of when the aversion started, which foods trigger it, and how your body reacts. This isn't just a change in taste. It could be a survival mechanism, your body's way of protecting itself from nutrients it can't handle. Share this information with a doctor, as it may point to early pancreatic dysfunction. 4. Sweet and sour sweat or breath. The fourth critical indicator of potential pancreatic issues is a noticeable change in body odor or breath, often described as having a sweet and sour quality, reminiscent of overripe fruit, vinegar, or even nail polish removal. This subtle yet significant symptom is frequently detected by those closest to the individual, family members, partners, or friends, rather than the person themselves, as they may become accustomed to the gradual shift in their. The pancreas plays a vital role in regulating blood sugar through insulin production, and when its function is compromised, blood glucose levels can fluctuate unpredictably. In response, the body may shift to an alternative energy source, breaking down fat instead of glucose in a process akin to a vehicle switching to a reserve fuel tank when the primary one runs dry. This metabolic shift, known as ketosis, produces byproducts called ketones, which are excreted through sweat, breath, or urine. These ketones impart a distinctive sweet and sour odor, serving as an early warning of underlying metabolic dysfunction. This symptom became painfully personal for me. I recall a weekend when my daughter came to visit and remarked on an unusual smell in our home. "Mom, did you spill vinegar or something? It smells sour, like something's not right," she said, wrinkling her nose. My wife Sarah brushed it off, insisting it was nothing, perhaps a lingering kitchen odor or a cleaning product. I too dismissed it at the time, a decision I now deeply regret. As a physician, I should have recognized the clue, but I was too familiar with Sarah's presence, too desensitized to the subtle change in her scent that had developed over weeks. It wasn't until later, after her diagnosis, that I connected the dots. Her body was signaling a pancreatic issue through this telltale odor. This experience underscored a humbling lesson. Loved ones often notice these changes before we do, and their observations can be pivotal, even life-saving. If someone close to you mentions that your breath or body odor has changed, perhaps describing it as sweet, sour, fruity, or even chemical-like, resist the urge to dismiss it or feel embarrassed. Instead, engage them in a detailed conversation. When did they first notice the change? Is the odor constant or intermittent? Does it seem to correlate with other symptoms, such as fatigue, nausea, or unexplained weight loss? For example, you might ask, does it smell like this all the time, or only after meals? Or have you noticed it more in the morning or evening? These details can provide critical context for a healthcare provider. If you're the one noticing this change in a loved one, approach the conversation with sensitivity but urgency, as it may be a vital clue prompting early medical evaluation. This symptom is often one of the earliest and most sensitive indicators of metabolic changes linked to pancreatic dysfunction, and acting on it promptly could make a significant difference in outcomes. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 5. Morning knee stiffness and symmetrical joint pain. The fifth and final warning sign is persistent stiffness or pain in the knees, particularly noticeable in the morning, that feels distinct from typical arthritis. At first glance, it may seem puzzling to connect an organ deep within the abdomen, like the pancreas, to joint discomfort in the knee. However, the body functions as a complex interconductive system, much like a symphony orchestra, where a single off-key note can disrupt the entire performance. When the pancreas becomes inflamed, it releases inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that travel through the bloodstream and trigger inflammation in distant tissues, including the joint. This systemic inflammation can manifest as a condition sometimes referred to as pancreatic arthritis, characterized by stiffness, discomfort, or pain that often affects both knees simultaneously, distinguishing it from more common forms of joint issue. My wife Sarah began experiencing this symptom in the months leading up to her pancreatic diagnosis, though neither of us recognized its significance at the time. Each morning, she would wince as she rose from bed, rubbing her knees and moving gingerly, particularly when navigating stairs. "It's just age catching up with me," she'd say with a resigned smile, and I, to my later regret, nodded in agreement. I suggested over-the-counter pain relievers, assuming it was osteoarthritis, a common condition I'd seen in countless patients, but pancreatic arthritis is unlike osteoarthritis, which often affects one side of the body more than the other. Like a single worn-out hinge on an old door, pancreatic-related joint pain tends to be symmetric, impacting both knees or other joints equally, as if rust is spread uniformly across all the hinges. This symmetry is a hallmark of systemic inflammation driven by the pancreas's dysfunction. If you or a loved one notices persistent morning stiffness or pain in both knees, especially if it's a new symptom, or accompanied by other warning signs like weight loss, fatigue, or changes in appetite, don't attribute it solely to aging or overexertion. Take proactive steps. Consult both an internist and an orthopedic specialist to investigate the underlying cause. To aid in diagnosis, maintain a detailed symptom log, noting when the stiffness occurs, age level, only in the morning or throughout the day, how long it lasts, whether it improves with movement, and if other symptoms such as swelling or warmth in the joints are present. For instance, you might record stiffness in both knees, lasts 30 minutes after waking, improves slightly with walking, but persists faintly all day. This information can help your healthcare provider differentiate between age-related joint wear, autoimmune conditions, or systemic issues, like pancreatic inflammation. Early recognition of this symptom, combined with a thorough medical evaluation, could uncover a critical health issue before it progresses further. Thank you for watching Dr. William Bill Smith's heartfelt story, and the critical lessons about listening to the subtle signals our bodies send. What have you learned from this video that resonates with you? Perhaps it's one of the 5 warning signs: ice-cold hands and feet, a strange vibration below the breastbone, a sudden aversion to favorite foods, a change in body odor, or morning knee stiffness. Or maybe it's the importance of truly observing and listening to your loved ones. We'd love to hear from you. Please comment below with one key takeaway you've learned, and how you plan to put it into practice in your life. If you found this video meaningful, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more life-changing insights. Take care, and let's start listening more closely to those quiet cries for help.